Rain poured over the city like it was trying to wash away everyone's sins. Inside the towering glass skyscraper of Axton Industries, a janitor mopped the marble floors with quiet precision. His uniform was faded, his shoes worn thin, and his name tag, Daniel Cole, hung crookedly on his chest. To most who passed him, he was invisible. Just another face among the cleaning staff. But if you looked closer, there was something different about him. Something in the way he moved, disciplined, deliberate. Like a man who'd seen things that left a mark far deeper than the grime he cleaned every night. That night, Daniel would meet the billionaire CEO who thought he owned the world. And by the time the sun rose, everyone in that building would learn that the quiet janitor they mocked had a past none of them could ever imagine. IT started the way it always did, Daniel arriving just before midnight, pushing his cleaning cart through the lobby that gleamed like a mirror. Security guards nodded at him politely, they liked him. He never spoke much, but when he did, his voice carried a calm strength. Another long night, Dan, one of them joked. He smiled faintly. Aren't they all? He worked for Axton Industries for almost 2 years now. Ever since his wife passed away, leaving him alone with a 9-year-old daughter, Emma. Every paycheck went to keeping her in school and making sure she never saw the kind of darkness he'd lived through overseas. Daniel didn't talk about his past. No one knew that once upon a time, he was a decorated military officer, a special forces operative who'd led men through fire and chaos. But when the war ended, he returned home broken, both inside and out. The medals meant nothing when your daughter asked, "Daddy, why do you wake up screaming?" Now, he found peace in small things. Cleaning floors. Making Emma's breakfast before school. Listening to her talk about her drawings. To him, that was enough until one night changed everything. The CEO, Ethan Axton, had returned from a business trip earlier than expected. A man in his early 30s, sharp suit, colder eyes. The kind of person who measured people's worth by their bank account. He walked through the lobby, barking into his phone about deals and profits when he spotted Daniel polishing the brass handrail. "Do it right the first time," Ethan snapped without even looking at him. "You missed a spot." Daniel paused, nodded, and kept working. Ethan hung up and turned. "Unbelievable. You people can't even clean properly." Daniel looked up, calm but firm. "I'll fix it, sir." "Sir?" Ethan scoffed. "Don't call me that. Just do your job." The other staff froze. Everyone knew Ethan's temper. Daniel simply nodded again and finished his task in silence. But as Ethan walked away, he muttered something under his breath, something Daniel didn't miss. "No wonder people like you end up here. Probably some dropout who gave up on life." Daniel's hands tightened around the mop handle, but he didn't respond. Years of discipline taught him restraint. He just whispered to himself, "Not tonight." The next morning, Daniel attended a parent-teacher meeting at Emma's school. He arrived straight from work, still smelling faintly of cleaning chemicals, while other parents wore designer clothes and expensive smiles. Emma ran to him, hugging his leg. "Daddy. You came." "Of course I did, sweetheart." Her teacher smiled warmly, but another mother glanced at his uniform and whispered something to her husband. He chuckled. Daniel ignored it. He was used to the looks, but Emma wasn't. That evening, she asked quietly, "Dad, why do some people laugh at you?" Daniel's heart cracked a little. "Because they don't know who we really are," he said softly. "And that's okay. We don't need to prove it." She nodded, trying to be brave. "You're still my hero." He smiled, ruffling her hair. "That's all I'll ever need to be." Back at Axton Industries, rumors spread that the CEO was hosting a grand investor meeting that weekend. Hundreds of high-profile guests, media, and government officials. Every employee was under pressure to make sure the event was flawless, including Daniel, who was assigned to handle after-hours cleanup in the main hall. When the night of the event arrived, Daniel stayed late, unseen among the glittering crowd. The ballroom shimmered with gold and champagne. Ethan stood at the center, surrounded by cameras, boasting about his company's success. That was when chaos erupted. A delivery truck outside the building exploded in flames. Panic swept through the guests. Security scrambled, alarms blared, and confusion filled the hall. Smoke began to pour into the lower levels. While everyone rushed for the exits, Daniel stayed calm. He saw something others didn't: the direction of the fire, the sound of metal under stress. Instinct kicked in. He sprinted to the service corridor, found a trapped waitress pinned under debris, and pulled her free. Then he guided a group of frightened guests through an alternate exit. Ethan, coughing near the stairs, froze when he saw the janitor running toward him. "You. What are you doing? Get out." Daniel ignored him, scanning the ceiling. "This section's unstable. Move." Before Ethan could argue, the ceiling gave way. Daniel shoved him aside, taking the brunt of falling debris. Ethan stared in disbelief, his life saved by the man he mocked hours earlier. Paramedics arrived minutes later. As they cut Daniel's sleeve to treat a wound, a faded tattoo on his upper arm caught the light, a coiled serpent around a winged sword, the insignia of an elite military unit. The room fell silent. One of the firefighters recognized it instantly. "Sir, that's the mark of the Shadow Unit. They're legends." Ethan stared, stunned. You were in the military? Daniel winced but managed a tired smile. Was. A long time ago. The next morning, the story spread like wildfire. Employees who once ignored him now looked at him with awe. Ethan visited him at the hospital, visibly humbled. I misjudged you, he admitted. You saved lives last night. You saved my life. Daniel shook his head weakly. You don't owe me anything. Just, treat people better. You never know who they really are. Weeks later, when Daniel returned to work, something had changed. Ethan publicly apologized to the staff and announced a new employee program, higher wages, better benefits. He also quietly promoted Daniel to head of facility operations, but Daniel didn't care about titles. What mattered was walking his daughter to school again, holding her hand, and knowing that one day she'd understand why he chose humility over pride. As they crossed the street, Emma looked up and said, Daddy, you're kind of like a superhero. He smiled. Superheroes wear capes, sweetheart. I wear a mop. She giggled, and in that laughter, Daniel found peace, because sometimes the strongest men aren't the ones who wear medals or suits, they're the ones who keep fighting quietly, even when no one's watching, and in the end, the billionaire learned something money could never buy: respect isn't earned by power, it's earned by character.